What is your most traumatic experience with a teacher? Technically it was the vice principal, but the day my brother died, apparently he thought it would be a good idea to walk in on story time. The teacher was reading to the class, set me on his lap and tell me in front of everyone that my brother committed suicide. When I was in second grade, my mom died. When I was in third grade, the evil witch of a teacher held me back from recess one day for something. While it was just us in the room, she asked if I went to church. I said no. She then told me that I was going to hell and would never see my mom again. I hated that bitch. So when I was in kindergarten I didn't make it to the bathroom in time and wet myself. Went to the nurse's office, got new clothes, but instead of panties I had to wear a pull-up. Not a big deal. I guess it was a school policy for kids my age, I don't really know. When I get back to my class my teacher loudly says, "Oh good, the baby is finally back," or something like that. She also knew about the policy and asked if I was wearing a diaper so every other student could hear. I was 5 and felt a ton of shame and humiliated. I started crying and trying to get out of school a lot because of it. My teacher often referred to me as a baby for the rest of the year. Also she would constantly ask if I needed to potty or if I was wearing a diaper, like I was a toddler or something. My kid starts school this year and this is my greatest fear. That some detached humanoid piece of shit will destroy his constitution over a false sense of righteousness. As a parent, my heart breaks for you. I work for a school district, formerly at the school in the front office. Make friends with those ladies. We watch out for the kids in a whole different way than teachers do. We also speak up when a teacher or another kid is being in a hole. The front office people are the ones who will pull you aside and say, "Hey, that teacher is a bitch." The amount of kids I used to pull into the office because they were doing something dumb and just talk with them was high, but they liked me cause they knew I was consistent. I'd also never write them up if they corrected their behavior. On a few occasions I straight up told the parent, "You need to speak with our principal about your kid's teacher because it's not the kid that's the issue." We had one case where a kinder teacher kept sending out this kid around an hour after lunch because of his behavior. He'd be flipping out and we'd let him, didn't even call our admin, let him throw a temper tantrum and then talk to him and eventually he'd curl up and pass out. Kid was exhausted, we didn't have nap time and this teacher was against any kid sleeping in her classroom. That goes against district policy. So it became routine that after lunch I'd swing by his classroom, and we'd go on a walk back to the office. He'd talk to us, color and then sit quietly for 4 minutes and nap for 45 and then he was fantastic after that. Got accused of plagiarism over a paper I wrote and didn't plagiarize that I was really excited about because of how well I thought I did on it. Enthusiasm fully destroyed. Not exactly me, but had a teacher yell at one of my friends for not doing his homework and give him a Saturday school, even though his parents had died the night before. One time I was on my period and I asked the teacher to go to the bathroom multiple times. She refused to let me go. Eventually I stained my uniform and the chair. I was so embarrassed that I started crying. When my mother found out, she made the school fire that motherfucker. My 4th grade teacher had a reputation for making one boy in her class an unpopular scapegoat each year. Lucky me. In previous years I'd been just another kid in the playground, but within 2 months the other kids wouldn't play with me during recess. One day I refused to go outside for recess. She asked why, and I foolishly told her that the other kids didn't like me. When they came back in, she marched me to the front of the class, and asked for a show of hands, who didn't like me. 4th grade kids, mostly, did what 4th grade kids do. I broke down that night and told my mom what had happened and what had been going on all along. She marched into school the next day, got a meeting that included the principal, and tore the teacher a new asshole. I was still stuck in that class, but the teacher moved on to a new victim. Funny thing how self-esteem influences academic performance. My school used to give us a Stanford Binet IQ test every year. My score dropped 10 points from 3rd to 4th grade, then rose 20 points in 5th grade when I had a nurturing teacher. If you are still alive, fuck you, Mrs. Erickson. My favorite teacher in middle school was arrested for child pornography. He wasn't my favorite after that. He also wasn't my teacher after that. I said that the dot over the I or J is called a tittle. She said it's not a tittle, it's a dot, and with that, she accused me of being impertinent, was bullied really bad. Kids kept drawing awful ugly photos and leaving them on my desk with profanity towards my appearance. I had enough one day after dealing with a lot of abuse at home and the bullying at school, and when I saw another broke down crying and brought it to my teacher. She just grabbed it, looked and asked if I wanted it back. Did nothing to help, wouldn't listen to me about the constant bullying and did absolutely nothing. I was in 7th grade and still remember it to this day. Edit, thanks for Silver Friend. Also thank to all who wished me well. Unfortunately no, I won't be doing anything towards the teacher, it was 12 years ago. I wish she learned better, but it was a small town school and as sad as it is, that's just the way it was. I hope I can be a better teacher when I'm finished school. When I was in high school I got a lot of nosebleeds. Like a lot. So I got one in the middle of class and I asked the teacher for a tissue. She said she didn't have any, so I asked to go to the toilet to get one, then she said no. Soon I asked again when blood was dripping from my hands and she yelled at me for repeating myself, which is apparently bad. Soon a puddle of blood was on the table, then I got sent to isolation for disrupting the class. I was then suspended for acting inappropriate during class. She was then fired for putting my life at risk. I gotta say, when you get a nosebleed like that, you really see how much blood is inside of you. Edit, thank you anonymous Redditor for a reward. Edit, for those saying I'm dramatic for saying putting my life at risk, it was the school that said it, not me. I didn't consider it risking my life. Fucking hell, I had exactly the same. I used to get nosebleeds in high school and most teachers were just cool about it. My English teacher even started keeping a tissue box in his classroom. But my history teacher was just a bitch about it. Like I'd raise my hand to be excused and he just ignored it until I just got up and left for the bathroom. And then the kicker, when I got back to class he'd make some sort of bitchy comment about people going out of class without asking permission. He was a really good and nice teacher outside of that, so it really confused me why he had that. But yeah, I ruined a couple of shirts with bloodstains because of that. In the 8th grade I had a book report to do for 4 books all due on the same day. That was way too overwhelming to do at the time. I had some serious domestic violence going on at home between my parents. Spent all my time taking care of my younger brother, cleaning up the house, cooking, and crying from all the stress. It was worth 20% of my grade, and the day before it was due, I broke down and told my teacher everything, down to the time when my brother bled from his head from being hit by my dad, to the most recent attempted murder upon my mom. If I had even received a B, my dad would have beat the shit out of my mom for giving birth to a stupid kid. He called child services, my parents received the call, and gave me the silent treatment for 3 days. They told him I lied just to get out of the assignment. The social worker told my teacher what my parents said and made the rest of my year a living hell. He treated me with such pettiness after that and threatened to call my parents whenever I had either spoken too loud in class, or whenever I was unparticipative in gym. He called my parents for my bad behavior. Home life got significantly harder after that, and my parents told my entire family continuously how stupid I was for telling him. They laughed at me when I cried or got upset about it. Years later, after repressing everything, I was diagnosed with severe PTSD from childhood trauma as a witness and victim of domestic violence, attempted murder thrice, and it took me 3 years in therapy to get over it. It was quick, but it was tough as it was during my university years and I ended up having to take an extra year of school to catch up mentally. I was ready to speak up about my struggles again when I couldn't function anymore as the traumatic flashbacks occurred twice a week for hours at a time. I couldn't do a single thing except tremble and live in fear. I was 18 by the time I was ready to reach out for help. Fuck you, Mr. Gentle, your name is creepy as fuck, and I really do wonder if being a petty 33-year-old to a 12-year-old child made your quality of life better. I hope that there's proper procedures put in place to protect children from such experiences. Edit, I did not expect for this to blow up. Thank you guys for all your kind words and support. It's so sad to read some of your replies. In a way, I am glad to know I am not alone, but at the same time, it breaks my heart to know that this isn't a rare experience. I'm actually from Canada and I thought I would give an update. I'm now 23, finishing up one more course to complete my bachelor's in business marketing. Unfortunately, things did not get better with my parents. My mother is still with my dad, and after finding out I had a SO, their treatment was beyond ruthless. After one more incident, I left for good and have not had any contact since this October last year. Yes, it is still fresh and it wasn't my first time leaving, but this is definitely the last time. I was supposed to graduate at 21, but I've finally accepted that is okay. The hardest part, though, was accepting that my relationship between my parents will never be healthy, and leaving was the only thing I could do to save myself. For all you teachers out there, or for anyone working with adolescents, take the time to listen. Even if it's trivial, silly, stupid, you have the power to change their direction in life and give them the motivation to make the best out of themselves. I don't resent Mr. Gentle anymore, and making that phone call was all that he could have done. Just don't become a teacher if all you're going to do is undermine them. Your job is to guide them. Even if nothing could have been done by the authorities, he didn't need to hold whatever I said against me, truth or not. It doesn't matter. If you need someone to talk to, don't hesitate, send me a message. Life is fucking bullshit, but I am not going down without a fight, lol.